Welcome to Hope is Here. We are continuing our conversation with Rick Hittner. He's the author of a new book called Resilient People, A Journey from Childhood Abuse to Healing in Love. And he just shares his own personal experience of just some horrific emotional and sexual abuse as a child and teenager. And we talked about that in our first program. Then second program, we started to talk a little bit about how he was able to get healing, and we're going to continue that part today. But if you missed our first two programs, they're only 14 minutes long. I want to encourage you to go to our website. That's hopeishere.today. Hopeishere.today, and check those out. And we all know somebody that maybe has been affected by this, and you can share that with them, or encourage you to follow us on iTunes or Podbean. All you have to do is just punch in Hope is Here and just subscribe. You automatically get each program sent to you. We do 5 every week, and lots of great programs bringing hope in so many areas of our life. But Rick, in your book, as you started to talk about the healing and getting healthy and whole, the Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, ASCA, they talk about 3 stages of that healing process. You might talk a little bit about those. The first stage is remembering.
Yes. Many people have buried the emotion around abuse so deeply they don't know it's there. But they start seeing things going wrong in their life, bad decisions being made, addictions, and the list goes on and on. And people, when they start remembering things, it can be one of the most challenging parts of the healing process, because in many instances the mind doesn't want to remember those things. But if you think you've been abused, chances are you might have been, and there's a lot you can do to enhance that. You can start writing. Meditation is good. Prayer certainly is going to help you, because prayer will give you guidance. And once people remember, they go through a mourning stage, because some of what these children went through is absolutely horrific. And there's pain. Why did this happen to me? Why did the people who loved me do this to me? So there's a mourning, and then there's the healing. And the healing is a majestic process, because I will tell you this: you can heal. And one of the statements I made early on is, I will never, ever again be embarrassed or ashamed about what happened to me, because I did nothing wrong as a child. So the healing is there for us. I'm not saying it's easy. It's a journey, and a commitment must be made to do it. But there are some really key things to keep in mind. Talking about it is extremely helpful. Where you talk about it is very critical. Going on Facebook or YouTube or any of these things is pretty dangerous, because you never know what feedback you're going to get, and there can be mean people out there, and you can get tormented more than help. So where you talk about is important. Who you talk to is important. There's a part in the book that talks how to find a therapist. There are a lot of really well-trained, well-intentioned therapists who have no idea how to deal with abuse issues, particularly sexual abuse, and they can do more damage than good. So there are interview process I discuss, questions that should be asked. I spoke at a high school here not too long ago, and the kids were just great, and I love talking to kids. And one young man kept asking very specific questions, and after it was over, he came and thanked me, and I spoke to his teacher next day, and he said, Rick, you really helped that young man, because he wanted to know where he could go to talk about this. And I said, well, you got a number of options. You got a really good teacher here, so you want to do it privately. and you want to have the confidence to know you're going to be respected. And he had just found out that his birth mom tried to kill him, and he didn't even know he was adopted. You know, so he had all this hit him at once. So, you know, you can talk. There are so many places you can talk to are healthy. If you look in the book, it discusses a lot of the organizations. There's an appendix in the back. You can go to your church. Go with someone. You know, if the abuse was within the family, you probably can't do that. So if you've got a trusted friend or something, go. But always go with someone to support you, someone who cares about you and respects you. And when you start this healing journey, it will continue. It will continue, and you will get better and better and better, and your life will improve. Your relationships will improve. Your health will improve. I mean, it's documented. People with abuse suffer more heart conditions, more drug addictions, more just medical issues. So healing is there, and if you can, you know, find a love of God, like I lost it totally, but it joyfully came back to me, and I put all my thoughts into prayers, and prayers are answered. You know, as I believe, I think one of the things I love about the gospel is almost every time Jesus did a miracle, he said, "Your faith has healed you." So believing is critical, and believing that you are a divine presence of God and that your life is here to be lived joyfully and productively will all be there for you if you take this step to heal. And the book, I think, is, although this is a short period of time to talk about, which I very much appreciate what Greg is doing, but there are a lot of ways a lot of things you can learn there that will help you on your healing journey. And again, I will make this commitment. You start this journey, you will heal.
Well, I would echo that sentiment. As I shared in our first program a couple of programs ago, I was sexually violated as a child myself, and unfortunately it wasn't to the multiple times that you suffered and things. And yet I know when I finally came clean when I was, I believe, 19, and, you know, revealed the secret, the shame, you know, met with a pastor, then a Christian counselor, and then went and got a physical, and everything was fine. The healing process started. And so I want to echo everything that you're saying. And, you know, the Bible talks about that God will restore what the locust hath eaten. And in the book of Psalms, David talks about, you know, create in me a clean heart, O God. And your life and mine are testaments to that. And that's why I've had you on Hope is Here, because I really do believe that there's some people that are really wounded and hurting and have lost hope. And unfortunately, a lot of people, when not dealing with these type of abuses as a child, it leads to suicide. And that's why I started Hope is Here about 1.5 years ago. And I know that's one of the desires of your heart, is to keep what the enemy talks about. Jesus warned us in John chapter 10, verses 10, Rick. It said, the enemy comes to steal and kill and destroy. But I really believe your book can help do what Jesus said in the next breath in that verse. But I have come so that you may have life and have it abundantly. And I really sense that from reading your book, that's your desire, is to bring people hope and let them live abundantly.
I just, that is so great. That's so great. If I can add one thing, I used to get into depression really quickly, and that would take me down to alcohol and whatever. And I remembered a Bible verse, and I don't know if you ever heard of neuro-linguistic programming, but it talks about how people operate from their eyes down, eyes level, and eyes up. Eyes up, you're in a vision. But I'd start feeling bad, and I'd lift my arm up, and I'd say, I lift my eyes up unto the hills, whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, my strength in every need. And lifting my eyes up and looking up, man, it took me right back to the love of God. It took me right out of the fear and the pain into knowing the truth of who I am.
Man, that's great. That is good stuff. Rick, what's something else you'd like to share about your book? We got a couple minutes left. What was something else that you would like to share that we haven't been able to in the first couple of programs?
I just think the first part of the book is about the abuse, and it was very hard to write. It was extremely difficult to write, but I felt if I wanted to help people, they had to know what I went through. And knowing that I went through and healed, that they can heal too. And it's not an illusion. It's not something far away. It's as close as God is to you, which is infinitely close. And it does take courage. It does take a commitment. But I will guarantee you this, you will start to love yourself again, like God loves you, like Christ loves you. And as you love yourself more and more, your life is going to get better, your friendships are going to get better, your relationships are going to get better, your job's going to get better. Life is going to become a joyful, beautiful experience as it was meant to be. So I encourage you to get the book, but read the entire book. The first part was difficult, but I did tremendous research on the second part of that book to guide people and give them knowledge from other professionals that this healing is there for them. It's their God-given right to live a beautiful life and to heal the damage that was done as a child.
Well, Joseph talked about after his brothers had sold him into slavery, and of course he spent time in jail and just had a lot of just bad things happen to him, and he told them that, what you meant for evil, God would use for good. And that's what I want to say to somebody that's listening. What was meant for evil and is painful and has taken, some of the joy out of your life, that God does want to heal. In this book, I've read it, and that's what I love about why I want to have Rick on here. He's not talking about getting healing just by research. He's lived it and then done the research, and then he is a victim now that instead of being a victim is a victor. So I want to encourage you to pick up a copy of Resilient People by Rick Hittner. That's Huttner. Rick, if people want to get a copy of this book, what's the best way to do that?
You can go to Amazon and order it on Amazon. It's just made the bestseller list in its category, so we're very blessed with that. And that's another gift from God, showing you this is the right way to do this. And I thank you for your show, and I thank you for this opportunity. Well,
I really appreciate you giving some of your valuable time in Colorado, and it's a great book. Like I said, reading through it, man, the first part for me was painful to read, but as I started getting to the healing and just all the solutions that you offered and the practical steps for getting healthy and whole, it'll bring a lot of hope to people. So, Rick, thanks so much for your time, and I know you're going to help a lot of people with this book. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you have a blessed day.
You too. That's Rick Hittner. He is the author of an outstanding book, Resilient People, A Journey from Childhood Abuse to Healing and Love. My name's Greg Horn, and this is Hope is Here.
To go to the next level, you have to change the way that you think. There is way more inside of you than you can imagine.
Everyone has influence. Come to the Global Leadership Summit on August 9th and 10th and learn skills to help you lead transformation. The summit features high-impact leaders like Craig Groeschel, Angela Ahrens, T.D. Jakes, and more. Experience the Global Leadership Summit on August 9th and 10th. Register today at willowcreek.com/summit or call 800-570-9812 and use the priority code radio.
Local host site in Central Kentucky is Lex City Church. Check them out online at lexcity.church.